Johnny, let's talk about this next section over here. I love the thumbnail for this one. You guys are going to love this too as well. Johnny, tell us what you got up there from Slow News Day.
Is that it?
That's where we're at.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do it in Steve's voice.
Johnny can't do Steve's
Yeah,
voice.
he can.
No, he can't.
Normally, you're not supposed to start your false flags till after Labor Day, but the Biden-Harris admin is all about breaking tradition and bold new ideas. So, CNN, Homeland Security, warns of potential conspiracy theory-fueled violence in August, this month. So there you go.
Yes.
So yeah, Steve's tweet, so that you guys can actually focus, is like, he's saying you're not supposed to start your false flags till after Labor Day. So he's calling this a false flag. So I put this in the photo like, oh shit, it's like something's gonna happen this month. Mm-hmm. Just kind of like how the insurrection kind of happened, the supposed insurrection, quote unquote.
Yeah. And they're talking about people who are still, once again, questioning the election. Mm-hmm. They've even actually mentioned Mike Lindell in this particular article and stuff like that. What Mike Lindell is doing now, I had a phone call the other day, and Johnny, I'll hand it back over to you real quick. But I just want to let people know I had a phone call with a a conservative election integrity activist, and they even said they wish that Lindell would just get the hell out of the way. Mm-hmm. The MyPillow guy, the guy's movie was almost unbearable. I couldn't watch it. He's blaming China right out the gate. But I think somebody got to him, and he recently did a panel with Dr. Shiva, and he was able to put up Dr. Shiva's work on display, and Dr. Shiva's a little bit more grounded, a little bit more centered, a little bit more nuanced than Mike Lindell.
Dr.
So a lot
Shiva's
of people are pushing back. Yeah.
Got the education behind him as well.
Yeah.
He's running the numbers. He's like a PhD graduate and all this background. Yeah. But back to this article. So I'm going to read a little bit of it. It says,
Go ahead, brother.
The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, warned state and local authorities Friday about an increase in calls for violence online tied to election-related conspiracy theories, according to a law enforcement source. What source? In an effort to prevent online threats from manifesting in violent acts, DHS issued a public safety notification to reach law enforcement throughout the United States. So LAPD is getting this. Mm-hmm. New York PD is getting this. DHS providing awareness of reports regarding an increasing but modest level of activity online calling for violence in response to unsubstantiated claims of fraud related to the 2020 election and the alleged reinstatement of former President Trump. The public safety notification said, according to the source. It was first reported by ABC News. We're going to look at their article in a second. The warning, which does not contain a specific threat, comes amid a resurgence of false claims about the 2020 election, pushed in part by Mike Lindell, MyPillow CEO, and a close ally of former President Donald Trump, who has emerged as one of the most vocal proponents of these conspiracy theories. As public visibility of the narratives increase, we are concerned about more calls to violence. Reporting indicates that the timing of these activities may occur during August 2021, although we lack information on specific plots or planned actions. So it doesn't make any sense. This sentence doesn't make any sense.
It actually, they exposed themselves there, right? Like
right.
They don't have any fucking solid evidence of anything going on at any date, at any time, with any people.
We lack information.
They heard it through the wind.
Look. So we lack information on specific plots or planned actions. So you didn't. You had specific information about what was going to happen in January 6th,
right?
And nothing was done about that.
No.
So now that they don't have specific information on specific plots, now they're going to do something about it. It doesn't make any sense.
We live in a fucking cartoon.
You guys understand
that?
Yeah. So, a department spokesperson told CNN that the DHS regularly shares information regarding the heightened threat environment with federal, state, local, tribal, and territorial officials to ensure the safety and security of all communities across the country. That's a bullshit line. DHS, the spokesperson confirmed the DHS put out this notification. There's a heightened terrorism-related threat environment in the U.S. So, remember we covered this the other day, a couple weeks ago, the DVEs?
Yes, domestic violent extremists.
Yeah. So, just in general, even before this supposed, notification, there is already a heightened terrorism-related threat environment. And they know this because of how shitty the situation is, not just from the right, but from the left.
Yep.
That people are thinking about this.
Yeah.
There's a class. Like people are thinking about this. No one's talking about it because you get banned, right?
Yeah.
But I know people are thinking about this. So,
Oh yeah, you have to read the one sentence though. That's for weeks because this is important right here because you got to understand exactly what they're trying to do. Once again, when it comes to the election stuff, they're trying to lump them with this particular group.
For weeks, the federal government has been aware of online narratives focused on reinstatement, particularly on platforms associated with promoting conspiracy theories like QAnon
There it is.
and forums where extremists tend to engage. There was a lot of fake shit from QAnon, but they did get
Yes.
some things right.
Well, that's because it's an FBI psyop, and it was made to discredit any sort of actual real critique of the system of the elections of anything. If you notice what they're doing here is that they're equating any sort of questioning of
the
elections to not only QAnon
There
but
you
to
go.
Trump supporters, to right wingers. The same thing they're doing with COVID. Oh, these anti-vaxxer, Trump supporter, right wing fascists. If any questioning of coronavirus and all that crap is being equated directly to conspiracy theories. Do you see the pattern here? This is because they're an easy target. Why? And they bring it upon themselves too, Pasta. You said
When
it
they
yourself.
make the
When you
bullshit.
make these BS claims, that's why we are here
bamboo.
on the left. We get mad and we try to educate people. Don't say election, voter fraud.
fraud.
Say election fraud.
Yeah.
They stop focusing on China and the ghost of Hugo Chavez. How about
Yeah.
we talk about what's really going on here?
How
in
about we talk about Dean
America?
Logan, who
Yeah.
was caught fucking with fucking
In King County,
in
Seattle.
King County, and then got hired in LA County to run the
Yeah.
elections there, right? Like
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah,
But
I
that's
mean,
why I feel like some of that on the
proprietary
right
software. Yeah.
is by design. I feel like there are people there that are set to make it look like a circus. So then the liberals come in and say, "See, it's a circus," and so it gets completely thrown out.
The Arizona Audits Telegram chat before it got crazy in the beginning was so awesome. Like they would actually have a voice chat. We would get on, we'd start talking, whatnot, and it was a group of people. Ellen Swanson, she recommended me in, but then it grew so big. Now we don't even know who's in there, and now it's just another QAnon chat. It really is. And there's times when I went in, I'm like, guys, what are you talking about? Could we please stay focused? And there'll be a lot of conservative people I knew that would be like, yes, why are you talking about this shit? Stay focused
Yeah.
at the task at hand. Stop telling us to trust the fucking plan when we're just trying to get
Yeah.
rid of the proprietary software.
who was the Italian Senate
Sonny Borelli.
Sonny Borelli. He
Yeah.
was saying that he was like, I don't know why they're focusing on that.
Yeah.
I
Well,
feel
Sonny
like-
Borelli was saying that. Even Mark Fincham was saying stuff.
Fincham.
Like, I don't know why they focus on certain stuff like that. They shouldn't. Like, that
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
It discredits everything
discredits
they're trying to
everything,
do. It really does.
And the left has that too when it comes to stuff. The
When it
right
comes
has,
to Russiagate, when it comes to,
the
you know-
lumping is the problem and stuff. But,
But
you know,
that's by design.
Exactly.
Those guys are probably fucking the people who are doing that. Are
That's what I'm
probably-
saying.
Probably
saying.
like some
CIA,
COINTELPRO
FBI,
stuff. Some
COINTELPRO.
stuff.
Oh yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
absolutely, Johnny. And that, like, listen, we were kind of bashing a little bit on whatchamacallit, on Mike Lindell, because he's a little bit ridiculous. I mean, he's not crazy blown out there like talking about adrenochrome, but he does always talk about China about everything, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, dude, like he was putting up stuff on his boards and his movies, and I was talking with Ellen. I'm like, dude, Ellen, he's not even telling us where he got this information from. He's just putting this information up like it's true, and he's immediately blaming China. And that's a problem we have, like Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, right? Like, who's got a lot of great things about him because he understands the software, he understands the technology, he's been involved with it for a long time. But when he still makes his comments about fucking about communism and about bamboo ballots, it's like, dude, what are you doing? We haven't seen any proof that these ballots are made of bamboo, but we have in 2 occasions now in Georgia and in New York where we've proven where there's test ballots made right down the street, put into the fucking machine
And run as
counted.
real ballots. Counted
It's-
as real ballots.
It's
Yes.
difficult for us because we're fighting a battle on two fronts. We're fighting the actual disinformation that's on the right and the actual disinformation that's on the Democratic side. I'm not going to call them left. And you know, and it's like we have to like say no, election fraud is real, that our elections aren't democratic. We don't have fair elections in this country. But your accusations that it's an outlier, whether it's China or Russia, are also wrong. This is our country doing it. So it's difficult because we have to fucking dispel all this bullshit coming from all angles.
Yeah.
And we're like one of the only people doing it, like on the left. We're literally it. That's it. Nobody else is talking. When the whole Nina Turner thing, literally nobody talked about elections. Unless they were like, hey, the combo couch is mentioning a good point about elections. No, besides that stuff, nobody talked about
barely that. And no one looks into the election systems at all.
Like,
because I don't know why. Like, why wouldn't you want to know how supposed democracy runs in this fucking country?
Yeah. Even with the fact that the Democratic lawyers and Bruce Beaver said that we can go into the back room and pick whoever we want, that to me is like your golden nugget. Now you should be diving into every single aspect of elections like the Combo Couch does until we get it straight.
They never have an answer, though. You saw in the conversation with Binder when I brought that up, there was no answer. It was like, oh, yeah, that happened. Okay, so...
The data shows us. He just said,
but he said primaries are different than in general. They're different. And I'm like, they use the same goddamn election system. But general and primary use the same election system.
Right.
Yes,
that's proven in LA County. I proved that.
And it's the same talking points handed to them from the fucking establishment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or people within the establishments. But even Breaky does that stuff. He goes, the primaries where the real cheating occurs. Like, no, there's real cheating that occurs in the generals too as well. Everybody's scratching each other's fucking back
against grassroots candidates.
Yep. All right or left.
Right or left. Wow. So, real quick, another sentence they had in here. In the current threat environment, DHS is especially concerned that lone offenders and small groups of individuals would potentially view these narratives as justification to act out violently. This is like, what is it, like pre-crime or something?
Pre-crime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, okay. So,
there is a document that we should go over that we haven't gone over. I think Steve went over it on the whole section on pre-crime. By the way, that's a thing now.
They keep referencing saying there are calls for violence in D.C. and state capitals across the country, the source said, but the source doesn't actually give any fucking sources, you know what I'm saying?
None.
In addition to the false claims by Lindell, another conspiracy theory relates to the upcoming FEMA test of the nationwide emergency alert system. This is what I wanted to read. I was like, wait. So there's an upcoming FEMA test of the nationwide emergency alert system, according to the source, with some viewing it as a so-called go code. So maybe in the QAnons, they're like saying, okay, yeah, this is going to be a go code. I did not even know about this.
They
upcoming FEMA test of the National Emergency Alert System. Yeah, and it wasn't anything. Didn't Trump text you? Yeah. Right.
It was like emergency broadcast testing.
Right,
was supposed to be the signal to go.
Right. I remember I saw memes about that. People were like, "Oh yeah, Trump's gonna say what up" or something like something stupid.
He was gonna make the announcement that he's moving Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi to Guantanamo Bay to be put on trials by the U.S. military.
How do people believe this shit? I just don't understand.
Because
they're so brainwashed on both ends. They are.
I get it, but you know what? I mean, the fact is, we have a media that always lies to us, that never tells us the truth, so people aren't going to believe anything. They're going to search for something that they can hold on and believe to. When you have a predatory class that gets away with murder, you know, and a lot of the people who are in QAnon, no matter what you say about them, their main issue is the whole pedophilia thing. Like, that's the main thing. They feel that Donald Trump was recruited to go after these pedophiles. So, therefore, they think that this crime is so bad that he was going to actually get this straight. It's like Steve said. And these people think that Jesus...
Child sex trafficking and stuff like that.
That's their main fucking issue.
Which is true, but when you tie it to conspiracy, actual conspiracy...
Well, yeah.
But that's
QAnon
the point.
Was a psyop and shit.
So right, that's the point. QAnon is a psyop. It is not real.
Some stuff they got right.
But that's
Epstein stuff.
By design.
Yeah.
That's
as far
why.
As I know, and then,
so they can conflate everything else.
Exactly.
Bits of truth in there with a lot of lies.
Yes.
So, in that article, they said the notification was first reported by ABC News. So, this is how you find primary sources. You click on that link, and then it says ABC News, Homeland Security warns of increasing but modest threat of violence from Trump conspiracy. DHS, look what it says under. DHS said it has no specific evidence of an imminent plot.
So why are you writing an article then? Why are you putting information if you have no evidence? Why are you telling us this? Because you want to shape the narrative.
Right.
And create more divide.
Right.
Exactly.
More fear. More fear. Because all the latte liberals are going to be like, oh, shaking their lattes in their hands.
Those cappuccino conservatives?
Support small businesses.
No, cappuccino communist.
Cappuccino
I'm
communist.
a communist there,
That's
please.
a cappuccino communist.
Cappuccino communist.
So this article began with a video, and I watched it to see if they used our footage, and it looks like they didn't. But I don't know. Just kind of wanted to go over this video.
On January 6th, thousands of rioters, many coming from Trump's Save America rally, stormed the U.S. Capitol as Congress met to certify the 2020 presidential election results. The insurrection resulted in multiple deaths, including an officer, dozens of injuries to law enforcement and rioters, ongoing arrests, and vandalism across the Capitol. Here's how the day unfolded. That morning, thousands gathered at the Ellipse near the White House to hear the president and his allies speak. Shortly before noon, President Trump addressed the crowd.
We will never give up. We will never concede. We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
Following his speech, the crowd then marched to the U.S. Capitol building, where initially only Capitol Police were stationed. Additional MPD officers would be called to assist by 1 p.m. At 12:53, a large crowd approached approximately 5 Capitol.
All right, so there's a lot of this information already said,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I
Yes.
kind of wanted to go over all that, but
Yeah,
then
yeah.
like,
Jesus.
but I wanted to point out here, like, look, there's only like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cops there,
Yeah.
and like there's thousands of people, like
Thousands,
like
tens of thousands.
tens of thousands of people, like at the Trump rally, and we're only gonna have like 5 cops there
Yeah.
with a little fence.
When previous day we had 50 cops for 50 protesters
with assault rifles,
with
assault rifles.
So we didn't get the memo. Yes, you did. We have gone through this before. They got the memo. They didn't do anything about it. This was by design.
right. So
The other thing, Johnny, go ahead.
yeah, I just kind of wanted to go back because we missed the audio, but the audience heard it. But I'm just gonna play and pause.
On January 6th, thousands of rioters, many coming from Trump's Save America rally, stormed the U.S. Capitol as Congress met to certify the 2020 presidential election results. The insurrection resulted in multiple deaths, including an officer, dozens of injuries to law enforcement.
Yeah, so they're framing it like the protesters killed
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
That's how they're framing
That's how they're
it, which
framing
is like completely wrong.
They shouldn't be allowed to publish that, and they are. They're publishing propaganda because nobody died as a result of that.
Yep.
Brian Sicknick did not die as a result of that. He died of an unrelated cause. The New York Times has had to make a retraction of that, but yet Biden, Democrats, and all of the media still use the same exact narrative to paint it as if he did. And the one person that did fucking died as a result of a Capitol Police officer shooting her dead, and that was Ashley Babbitt, who many people called me a fascist for saying she shouldn't have died just because she was a Trump supporter.
What are they using as proof that this officer died?
Oh, they used our video.
Oh, that's right. The Combo Couch's fucking video with the dudes.
No references to
None.
to us or anything.
Zero.
Whatever.
That whole narrative that they're speaking now, that Biden speaks at the fucking G7, they wouldn't even have that narrative if they don't have our video. So
More lawyers, more dollars on the case is what we're doing.
Yeah.
What else? They said the only person that died. Didn't they say that the only person that died was a Capitol Police? Someone shot by Capitol Police? Or
Dozens of injuries to law enforcement and rioters, on deaths, including an officer.
No.
Dozens of injuries to law enforcement.
So they didn't even
resulted in
talk about-
multiple
No, they didn't.
deaths,
They don't
including
count her
They don't
because she
count-
doesn't fit the narrative.
exactly
She-
because
it's
she was
the
literally
opposite.
shot by the state.
Yeah.
yeah,
She was shot by the
by
state.
the state.
Yeah, and
So-
if all cops are bastards and you stand against fascism, that goes for people who don't agree with you on who they voted for in the fucking general, too, by the way. It doesn't change just because you don't like who she voted for.
I'm against state-sanctioned murder.
Yeah.
Period.
I'm against state-sanctioned murder.
Yeah.
State-sanctioned murder.
And they could have
Because
just
that's what
pushed
that
her
was.
or hit her.
They could have
or moved
tased her or
back.
something like
tased
that.
her. They shot her right in the throat.
The same arguments that I make for any black man killed under cops is the same argument I'm making here. Period.
Well, I lost friends because they called me up. A dead Karen is a good Karen. Another
That's
Trump or gone.
disgusting.
No,
Like,
that's gross,
you're a
man.
fascist.
That's
That's
fascist
that's
talk.
not okay.
Yep.
It's not.
I still have that person blocked until he apologizes. Not to me, but to Ashley's family.
Officer, dozens of injuries to law enforcement and rioters, ongoing arrests, and vandalism across the Capitol. Here's how the day unfolded. That morning, thousands gathered at the Ellipse near the White House to hear the president and his allies speak. Shortly before noon, President Trump addressed the crowd.
We will never give up. We will never concede. We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength.
Yeah,
They're
so-
lying right now about
so-
the timelines.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I have to verify that. But the whole narrative around Trump's speech was that he incited violence, if you guys recall that.
Right, but
So you would think this video would show the worst parts of his speech.
yeah.
So they're showing the worst that they could
Yeah.
to interpret it.
To fit
He
their
never
narrative.
said go and storm the fucking Capitol. He said
Yeah.
No.
go and make your voices heard.
Yeah.
You got to show
There.
strength.
We
That's
gotta
Yeah.
show
it.
strength,
Yeah.
strength and unity.
If
Like,
Bernie Sanders said it-
said the exact same shit.
The left
Okay.
will love it.
I just want to get this on the record right now because I've been to a bunch of protests. These guys been to a lot more. Johnny, you've heard speeches before from people and everything else like that. We've heard politicians speak. We've heard people from Black Lives Matter have speeches and stuff like that. Are these speeches any that different than what Donald Trump said? I mean, yes, obviously the narrative is a little bit different,
The
but the
ideology.
actual general message is like, we're going to show strength. We're going to march to the Capitol. We're going
Right.
to let them know. We're
Yeah.
going to hear our voice. We're going to make demands.
Doesn't
we're not
matter.
leaving until
Make
we get
demands.
it. Right?
If
Make
you
demands.
agree with them or not,
Yeah.
they have the right to say that. That's the thing. And by the way, he is lying about the time. They are lying about the timeline because they're framing it like Donald Trump said this, and then they march into the from the Ellipse
No.
into the Capitol,
Yeah, because
and
people
that's
already
not what
marching.
happened.
Yeah.
People were already there.
They were already
They
going
were,
there.
They
Yeah.
were already there. We've talked about this from the day it happened. We
Yeah.
mentioned this.
Tracy Beans texted, like, what the fuck? We're not even to the Capitol yet. When
Yeah.
There were reports of shit going
Yeah.
on. If you play this video, Donald Trump didn't speak until after 12 o'clock, and he spoke for almost an hour.
Yeah.
We were walking back, listening to
I
the speech
remember.
as we talked. So those people wouldn't have left that fucking, the Ellipse until after 1 o'clock. They're saying, and they're going to say, wow, they're down there at
He
12:43.
instructed them to go and to
Yes.
take over and stop our sanctimonious democratic process from happening. That didn't happen, dude.
Let me see if
that
I have
did
the
not
time.
So
happen.
the crazy thing, Paz, is that if we were allowed to live stream, if they weren't signal blocking,
Yes.
we would have like
Yes.
the timestamps.
Yes.
This is such bullshit, dude. Like that's how you know that fucking it was some bullshit that we weren't allowed to live stream and they were
Yeah.
signal blocking, which they do. They do that. Why is that legal to do in
Yeah.
the United States? It's a signal block. Let me press play.
Press play.
You
we
have to
wanna-
be strong.
Following his speech, the crowd then marched to the U.S. Capitol building, where initially only
See?
Capitol Police were stationed.
Okay.
Additional MPD
You gotta
officers.
stop that right there.
Following his speech.
You're saying his speech was 0 minutes? It started a little after 12. He spoke, and following his speech, they were down there by 12:45. He spoke for over an hour, close to an hour.
Oh, yeah,
he
did
He
speak
laid
for a
out
while.
every single state, what was going on. It was
Yeah.
boring stuff, but it was election integrity stuff, and he was explaining how he was cheated. So they're really insinuating in this video right here, and they're fucking just painting a picture that's so untrue that. He started speaking at 12 o'clock, and they started marching down. They got there at 12:45 because it was at least a 45-minute march, if
Yeah.
not close to an hour. That's how far away it would be to march from the Ellipse to the Capitol building. So you're saying they didn't listen to his whole speech? Just at 12 o'clock, they started taking off, and they got down there by 12:45?
Right, like they
it's
marched
a fucking lie.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So
Would be called to assist by 1 p.m. At 12:53, a large crowd approached approximately 5 Capitol Police officers standing at a fenced-off entrance near the Peace Monument. According to ABC News sources that day, many Capitol Police were armed only with mace and their sidearms. As the crowd pushed
Okay. How I don't understand
Yeah,
how they
no.
were only armed
Exactly.
with that when they had actual weapons like for us.
like literally like I'm gonna pull up the footage now.
Yeah, let's
like,
pull up the
day
footage
before.
because this is like so you think that just was by accident? You think like I'm not even blaming these cops. This was from above their pay grade.
Yeah.
Like this is like above that. Like guys, you need to understand that the United States has a history of manipulations, of, operations all over the world. Do you really think they're not going to do it to you? Of course they are. Like, we were there. We're telling you what happened and what didn't happen. And I still have unreleased footage.
Yeah.
That I was thinking of maybe, since it's almost a year from September 11th, like before September 11th, maybe we could talk about that. But, I mean, look at how many people we had there, and there were cops everywhere. And I remember Jackson was there, and you were next to him, and I was with the megaphone, and you were like, Fiorella, like at the second day, I think it was.
This is the second day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to look through my footage. I have to find it later and stuff like that. But I know I have some timestamps about when we were looking at the ellipse. I can't be exactly sure, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm not going to put it out there now. I'm trying to remember what time we got there. What time did we get to the Capitol when we drove?
It was like 2 something.
Yeah, we beat the crowd ahead of everybody. So this whole 12 o'clock to 12:45 thing is such a fucking lie. Like, you know what I'm saying? I can remember it was like after 2 we got there. And we drove there. We were listening to the rest of Donald Trump's speech as we were walking back we were walking away from the ellipse because we had listened for a while. We were there. We got to the car as he finished up his speech, took off, went to the Capitol, and got to the Capitol way before anybody who was marching even got there.
Yeah.
And that was way after 12:45. And guys, look how many police officers out there for Fiorella's speech.
So
Fiorella, it's your fault.
Here they didn't have I remember they had the guns when we were on this side. They had the assault rifles out. Over here. We were on this side. It might have been the day before.
Might have been the day before. Where we even had...
I remember they had... Like, this guy over here was standing with the assault rifle. I clearly remember that. I got footage of that. I remember I walked by it. Let me see if we can find it. Anyways, I'm looking for it.
Yeah. We'll find it, and we'll show it to you. But I just want to say, again... There's no way that tens of thousands of people, okay? Tens of thousands of people showing up and you're not prepared is like an accident. That's meant to happen because they know exactly what's going on. They saw us there for Force to Vote. They saw us there for Assange. And during the Assange rallies, there were like FBI cops and police cops all lined up down the street.
Yeah, this is D.C.
There it is.
The heartland. Yeah, he's got the area. He's got the assault.
Yeah,
Look,
got the assault rifle.
Look.
I even mentioned it. And he's got a handgun right there.
And a handgun. Did you see any of that at the fucking Capitol?
No.
No.
So explain that, naysayers.
Right
there it is.
Boom.
Right there. That's for us.
That's for us.
But at the Capitol, no.
That's okay. I get that because you know why? Because we are a threat. We are actually talking about, things that make politicians like the Squad and the Democrats and all these people look bad. They can easily turn the right wingers into a bait to make them, oh, look at these fascists. So they're not really a threat to them. And the more they allow them to do things, the more they can turn them into the bait to be used for this surveillance state fascism that they're trying to push. That's why that happened. That's why, because a bunch of fucking, radical fucking actual, let's working class people uniting and demanding healthcare. This is the part that I didn't get to fucking talk about at the March for Medicare for All, because that was my whole fucking point. Because that is a threat. Like, people fighting for healthcare, people fighting for freedom of speech, that's an actual threat. You don't want the media to see that. You don't want numbers to get high. You don't want these people to actually go in and demand this, because those are demands that are going to not be seen as radical. Whereas with the right, they could take that, make it into a conspiracy theory, and use them to push this sort of fascistic agenda that they're doing. And that's exactly what they did. That's why they allowed it to happen. And that is the truth. That's what we have been saying since day one. That's what I was trying to say before I got cut off. And that is, that's the crux of it, guys. You're being manipulated.
There's the gun. Assault weapons.
Big rifle.
Yep. And they had there's the vehicles, all right? So you see the cop vehicles and stuff. They had a vehicle there. They had another vehicle down the way. They could come out with more guns. You know what I'm saying? It's right there, guys. It's right there. You didn't see any of that on January 6th.
And they were videotaping us. They had cameras out.
They were getting all our faces and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was terrible.
Just had to show that.
That part of the article, though, the way they did that, 12 and 12:45, is some lying fucking shit.
I'm sure
dude.
there's some people there, but
Yeah,
it's
but
not
it
like the
wasn't-
whole crowd.
It wasn't like they heard his speech and said, "Let's go." They made it look like they heard his speech and
Right.
they went marching
And he
down
signaled
right
to
away.
them like a
He
Fuhrer
signaled.
and was like, "Go and attack them." That's the narrative
like a
they
Fuhrer?
painted. Yes,
Like a Führer. Could you say it in German?
fam, I don't do tricks.
A Führer.
The barricades over, the police were quickly overwhelmed. In contrast to other events in D.C. last summer, additional state and federal law enforcement was not pre-staged ahead of the riot.
No assault weapons.
Yeah.
No
so
rifles there. Where's the
Black
rifles?
Lives Matter shows up and they have all
They have
the fucking gear.
DHS
Again.
out there, they got everybody.
You can't even argue
The,
this
no,
shit,
you
guys.
can't. But the left fails in their argument of that because they're like, see, it's because the
'cause they're
police are
white
racist
Trumpers.
and they're all Trumpers, so they like them. No,
No.
that's not what happened. That's not what it was. It wasn't because of that. It was because they were told not to. They were told to not have these weapons, to allow this to happen, to make them look like the victims, and these people look like, oh, they're coming in. And then they said that there were bombs, that there were weapons. There was no weapons found by any of these people. They had that mace is the worst thing that they had.
They show here, and I wanted to do more
Within
research
minutes,
on this.
protesters began swarming other entrances of the Capitol, breaking through barricades and continuing to push further toward the building. Inside, Congress began their session with Vice President Pence presiding.
Are there any objections to counting the certificate of vote of the state of Arizona?
I will vote to respect the people's decision and defend our system of government as we know it.
During this time, explosive devices were reported outside the DNC and RNC headquarters.
At this time. See, this is the shit there.
I want to verify
this.
this. I want to verify this. I didn't hear about this.
Oh,
till-
yeah.
I didn't
till
hear
I saw
about
this
it.
video.
By the way, Johnny, they didn't have the footage of the person walking and putting in that.
right.
Remember, they lost the footage.
Right.
Right.
In DC, the most fucking surveilled fucking
they don't have
city
this
in the
footage.
whole fucking in the country, right?
Yeah.
So
And they're literally pulling people left and right who were at the Capitol that went inside because they
right,
can find them.
but they couldn't find that.
But they can't find the guy walking or the guy or the girl, whoever went and put this pipe bombs by where. And this is where we were the couple days before, right by their offices, I
Yeah.
believe.
No. This is the DNC headquarters, and I have no idea.
Oh,
where
yeah,
this-
so
I have
we weren't
no
at the
idea where that
headquarters. We
is.
were
I
at the
have no
Congress.
idea where that
Yeah.
is. So, all right, let's keep going.
Meanwhile, rioters continued to surround the Capitol, taking photos and waving flags. One video shows rioters streaming past barricades with officers standing by. An audio message from around 2 p.m. warned a
Right, so they show that video where officers just let them through.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
Okay.
congressional staffers and reporters to stay away from windows and doors. Between 2 and 2:30, rioters broke through multiple entrances and began pushing further into the building. By 2:30, rioters breached security and made their way into the Capitol through windows and doors. Crowds began pouring into the rotunda, crypt, statuary hall, and other locations. On the chamber floor, the House recessed and told members to lock down and shelter in place.
They broke the glass? Everybody stay down! Get down!
Around 2:45, members of the Capitol security team barricaded the entry doors to the chamber. Congress members retrieved gas masks from underneath their seats and
So I want to know if it's standard procedure that they have gas masks under their seats.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right?
I-
Why were gas masks under their seats?
Yeah, because I want to figure that out. So
Yeah. I'm not sure about that. Mm-hmm.
You know, Johnny, there's still hours of footage from inside they haven't released.
Yeah.
So, hours.
Oh, and this is about the time that we arrived at the Capitol.
Yep.
tear gas has been released into the rotunda. Outside the House chamber in a stairwell, protesters attempted to get into a secured hallway. One woman, Ashley Bachelet, was shot by a Capitol policeman.
There we
Later
go.
died. Around 3 p.m., one video shows an officer stuck in a doorway as rioters try to push through. By now, hundreds of rioters occupied the Capitol, roamed the halls, sat at Speaker Pelosi's desk, and vandalized the building. As the insurrection continued, support from more than 18 local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies began to arrive. They tried to dispel the violence using tear gas and flashbangs to move the protesters out of the building. By mid-afternoon, many political leaders and allies of President Trump called on the president to make a statement and denounce the protest.
I tried to call the president immediately, and I've tried a number of different ways to get him.
I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege.
At 4:17, more than 2 hours after the violence began, President Trump tweeted a minute-long pre-recorded video speaking directly to the protesters.
You have to go home now. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you.
Earlier in the day, Mayor Bowser implemented a 6 p.m. curfew, and rioters now dispersed. By 8 p.m., senators resumed session in the Senate chamber to confirm the electoral results.
Today was a dark day in the history of the United States Capitol. The violence was quelled. The Capitol is secured, and the people's work continues.
Congress worked through the night, and at 3:39 a.m. certified Joe Biden as the 46th President of the United States.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be the President and the Vice President according to the ballots that have been given to us.
Brian Sitnick again. Brian Sitnick.
So there you go.
Jesus Christ.
Purpose of the joint session.
It's a good summary to
To
kind of
debunk,
and go through. And there's some things
Yeah.
they got right in there, but there's a lot that they did not.
Vast majority they didn't.
Having concluded pursuant to Senate Concurrent Resolution 1, 117th Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
It's not that this didn't happen. It happened. It's how they're framing
How
it
they're
that it
framing the
happened.
whole thing, yeah.
That's
This was an attack on our democracy.
poor Nancy
Oh my
Pelosi.
God.
Okay, let me just paint this picture. Imagine us, all of us, all the Force the Vote people, all the March for Medicare for all the people storming the Capitol, demanding Medicare for all, demanding a $15 minimum wage, demanding freedom of the press, the freedom of Assange, demanding all these things. How would that look? Do you think for one fucking second that they would just stand there with little batons and tear gas and
No.
just no, guys.
They wouldn't have
no.
like backup on backup on backup ready to go like they have been the whole summer for BLM protests.
Yep.
Come on. Think about that for a second. Think about how this was manufactured to allow to happen. And that's what I mean. We, the working class, the people, need to actually do things like this, right? And now we can't, or we can, but we will be, I mean, the whole thing is guarded and gated unless Cory Bush and AOC have a PR
event,
stunt
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Then it's open. But besides that, you're going to be tear gassed. You're going to be labeled a domestic violence extremist. You're now censored. All of this that was by design. You know why? Because they know that people are fucking fed up, that people are poorer, that people are just distrustful of the current system. So they had to do that. And now COVID, checkmate with COVID, because now you can't argue anything against that at all. So that's where we're at.
And you know what's hilarious? In this article, they say, so it says, the DHS said Friday, observing increasing but modest level of activity online, calling for violence. And then, there's no evidence that shows that there was widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election. You know what? Voter fraud.
Yeah, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. They're right.
Yeah, good job.
There's evidence of widespread election fraud.
Election fraud.
They were technically right, Johnny.
Technically.
That's why they do this, guys. God damn it. It's so hard to do our jobs here.
And no one knows the difference, right? So, except for our lovely audience in the Convo Couch, you guys know the difference between voter fraud and election frauds.